Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters in That podcast. I'm your host, Brian. Today I welcome a special guest. We got Steve Sera from the band Axminster. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No worries. I think the jerseys are kind of giving away, I guess, you're somewhere up north in Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big sports fan. So Boston's a hometown, and, we love our sports up here.
Big Bruins fan, yeah. Actually, does one of those say Bork on the back?
It does. This one's actually Rick Middleton jerseys. I've got a Bork on the other end, and a Don Sweeney, and a Pedro, and a Johnny Damon, and all my homies.
Yeah, I go with Johnny Damon. Always loved it when he grew out the beard during the playoff runs.
He's a great guy too. I got to meet him a couple of times.
Oh, really? That's pretty.
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
I think it was always hilarious, like how quick that beard would actually grow into. It was almost like a weed.
Those were fun times. In 2004, that was a great team. They were a bunch of rebels. They were fun.
Yeah, that's for sure too. But actually, they didn't win until 2014 when they finally won the World Series.
No, 2004. They won.
It was 2004. Okay.
Yep. They won 4, I believe, since the new century. So that's right. They've won 4.
That's pretty cool. I guess, how you been recently? What's new?
Things are great. We just released a video to an Aerosmith tune that we did called SOS Too Bad. We did a little tribute song. A buddy of ours who produced us years ago came by and we jammed and banged it out. So it was off the Get Your Wings album, which is like 50 years old this year. So we banged out a new cover, and things are good, and we're ready to do another one. And actually we started to do some writing, and we're looking to head back in the studio again. So that's the new plan.
All right, sounds good. You get to elaborate more on the music here in just a little bit here too. But Steve, I want to welcome you to my podcast right here. And the way it's going to work is connect to some questions. Let's get to know you more both as the musician as well as the band as well, but also as the individual as well here too. So you all ready?
All good to go.
All right. So let's start at the beginning right here, I guess. Who are you specifically? Because I know Benny was actually supposed to join us today, but unfortunately to fill in the audience, he got caught up at work here too. So let's hear your story, and then we'll get into the band a little bit here too. So
sure.
Who are you?
Steve Sera. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, born and raised here, and lead singer, guitar player for the band Axminster. We've been around since 1983, I think was the first time when we formed, and we've pretty much stayed with the same lineup. We lost our drummer. Mike Lamb was our original drummer. He died of lung cancer in 2022. He was just a great guy, and picked up this new drummer now. But our lineup's pretty much stayed the same. I'm not saying we stayed together the whole time. We broke up here and there, but we've always remained friends, and we're back again. So.
That's a big sense of history. Yeah, it also makes sense too if you're covering Aerosmith's music as well.
Yeah.
So, and I guess fill in like how you met some of the band members here too. Was this like a high school project, and then you decided to take it serious like after graduating?
Yeah, I mean, we got together when we were in high school. The drummer Mike and I started off, and we had another bass player. His name was Jeff Callan, which is the brother of the bass player now, Danny Callan. We got together and we started jamming and playing, and back then, it was there was places to play. I mean, Boston was really hot at the time. I mean, there were tons of clubs. It was a whole different world than it is now. I mean, radio was really accepting. There was a real powerhouse station in this area called WBCN. And they were just awesome. They were 50,000 watts, and they would put you in if your stuff was good. They'd throw you into rotation. I'm not talking like a Sunday night new music show. I mean, like it would. They'd play Zeppelin, they'd play Deep Purple, they'd play Bon Jovi, and they'd play your band, and you were in rotation, and it was great. And the clubs were packed. They were well-paying clubs, a lot of great original music, a lot of dudes were getting signed, and it was a real fun time. And so you were really able to cut your teeth, and we played live. We had a chance to play with some really great bands that were just rolling through town. I mean, we toured with Metallica. We played 3 or 4 gigs with them in this area. Twisted Sister, Lita Ford, 10 Years After, Foghat, Molly Hatchet, Joey Perry Project. We just because Aerosmith had broken up, and so it was a great time. It was a great time to be in a band,
I'll say, especially if you get to play alongside Metallica. I guess how'd that work out?
That was great. They were. I'll tell you the funny story with that. So we were playing this club called The Channel, and And it was probably had 2,500 seats. This was right during the Ride the Lightning tour. That's when they were coming out, because Cliff Bernstein was still in the band. So the night before the gig, and you can find this story somewhere online. The night before the gig, we get a call from the club manager, and he says Metallica's equipment's been stolen, and we all had Marshalls, and our drummer played Tom of drums. So he said, can the band use? Now, I didn't know who Metallica was. These guys, I mean, I just heard of them. They weren't like the massive arena act that they are now. And he was like, because we used Marshalls and they used Marshalls, whatever. And they said, can they use your stuff? And we said, sure, why not? I mean, guys are coming in, they just got their equipment ripped off. They were all pissed off about it. And so our road crew gets to the club early to set up. Well, nobody announced to the Metallica road crew that our stuff was going to be used. That had not been crossed in translation. So their road crew shows up. Now, as you know, it's a big no-no, right, to put your stuff on the stage before the headliner shows up, right? So they come walking in, our road crew and their road crew, and they're like, what is your stuff doing on the stage? Get your effing stuff off the stage, Obviously, some knives come out. There's a big pissed off road crews. It's going to be a big fight. So one thing led to another. Things finally settled down, and they realized that we were lending them their gear, and one thing led to another. But a big truck pulled up, and I guess Anthrax had loaned them their gear for the rest of their tour. So it ended up being a great night. It was fun. It was a packed crowd. It was a good gig. But there was the Metallica story.
I say it was only like 5 minutes of pure drama right there, and everyone holding their breath.
Oh yeah. Because we were at the time, it wasn't like we were bowing down to Metallica. We were a pretty good sized local band, and they were just a band rolling through, and who just had kind of heard of them, but we weren't going to take any crap, and neither was my road crew, that's for sure. Especially after we forced them to get to the gig early and set up our stuff for another band. They weren't happy about that to begin with, so all they needed was a little bit of stuff to piss them off.
I guess so. Actually, I think it was a similar story with like Dave Mustaine. And I guess, what year was this?
Oh, this was 84, winter of 84. So Mustaine I don't think he was in the band.
No, right? I mean, Kirk Hammett. Yeah.
Kirk Hammett was still in the band, but I know the bass player there, Cliff Bernstein, was in the band. Yeah.
Cliff Burton, not Bernstein.
Yeah. Right. They were great. They were good.
I guess you guys, I was going to say, you have a nice chat with them afterwards.
They were hungry. Those guys were hungry back then. That's for sure.
Do you have a nice little chat with them afterwards? I guess when everything finally died down.
They were great guys. One of the things that most of the bands that we had a chance to open for or play with were all great guys. Everybody was pulling on the same rope. I didn't have a lot of a lot of attitude stuff. The only one that was kind of a pain in the ass really was Lita Ford, and it was really her road crew. We were playing this club called the Rathskeller here in Boston. Tiny little club. There's a dressing room the size of a closet, and then the headliner's dressing room was the size of 2 closets. And they were like, "You guys got to get out of here before she hits the stage," and just stuff like that. I'm like, that's the only time that there was ever a problem. But bands like Twisted Sister was really great to us. Super guys. Molly Hatchet were a bunch of great guys. Most of the bands we played with were really cool.
You get any of the autographs, I guess, on any of your jerseys or anything?
I wish I'd collected more memorabilia, but at the time I wasn't thinking about it back then. I wasn't thinking about, geez, this will be really cool to look at from 40 years from now. I'm like, you got your eyes on the prize. You're taking care of your own stuff, and you also want to pretend you were still cool, right? So I'm not going to look for autographs if, when you're trying to still be cool, But now looking back on it, I wish I had,
I do see it on one jersey there too. Is that one of the players on the jersey right behind you right there? I was saying it was the Bork jersey, but I think you said it was Middleton.
Yeah, Rick Middleton. Yeah. Nifty. He's a good guy.
Yeah, that's for sure. We'll get to sports a little bit later here too. And also I do want to kind of circle back on that whole thing with the Boston scene, like after COVID, but we'll get to that in a little bit here too. But let's go ahead and jump into the band a little bit here too. So first off, why Axminster? Who came up with that name?
All right. Well, that's an interesting story too. So we were looking for a name. It's so hard to come up with a name back then. Everybody's throwing around names, and one thing led to another. Our bass player's dad worked for a carpet distribution company. So we were we needed to soundproof our rehearsal space. So he came home with a bunch of carpet pieces and the foam that goes underneath the carpet. And underneath one of the pieces of carpet, there was the word Axminster. And I had no idea that that was a famous carpet company or a city in England, right? So I go, okay, this is cool. We're 19, right? So that's how it became Axminster. It was that simple. We said, let's call the band Axminster. Funny thing is, now that with the internet and all, because there was no internet back then, there was none of that. Nobody knew. And we actually got an invite to go play in Axminster. The mayor of Axminster wants us to come play their Yardie Party, which is a summer festival out in Axminster. So we got that invite last year. So that's the cool thing about the internet, because now it's like, people might say, well, that's kind of a stupid name. Why are you following a carpet company? It's like, I didn't know at the time, and it was funny because some of the people online that were from the UK that, heard the name was Axminster, they were kind of jabbing at it a little bit. So I jumped in and I told them the story. And after that, they were like, that's cool. That's a great name. I'm glad you guys kept it. So there you go.
Yeah, it's actually amazing. You find inspiration like odd places like that here too. So
right, yeah.
Actually, I had no idea it was actually.
We're stuck with it, and that's it. So that we're not changing it.
Actually, I had no idea because I was actually in England and Scotland not too long ago, and actually I had never heard of the town Axminster or anything like that. So it's almost like,
that's like 40 miles south of London. It's it's on the Axe River. It's got all these cool acronyms, So it's like, and it's just a name that we've kept and stuck, and that's it.
I see. So I guess how long were you guys playing music? Because you say you guys broke up at some point.
Yeah, I mean, from about 83 when we really got going till about 86, we were pretty gigging all the time and recording and showcasing. We Atlantic Records came down and Geffen Records came down, and got to see some bands and we got to showcase, and we thought there was going to be a deal several times, and then things just run out of gas. At the time you're young, and knowing what I know now, would have been cool to step back and just go, okay, let's restock here and figure things out. But at that time, you think you've only got a certain amount of time to do stuff, and one thing led to another, and then we just figured that it kind of fizzled out because it was time to go back in the studio again, and you're out of money, you're out of time. It's like, you've been circling the same clubs, circling the same wagons, and at the time, the record deal was the thing, right? I mean, that's the thing to get. Sign to a major label, get your advance, get in the studio, and try to put out an album. And nowadays, where you can do so many things on your own, that opportunity wasn't there, so you were kind of stuck, So we broke up for a little bit. I joined a couple other bands. Some of the other guys went on to some other bands, wrote some jingles, did some other recording with other people. And then sometime around the late 90s, we started chatting again. There was some interest. The internet was starting to becoming a little more of a popular thing. And somebody had got a hold of some of our demos. And there was a label in New York that wanted to distribute some of our old stuff. So, we pulled together all the tapes, they put out a CD, and we kind of got back together and decided to do some recording, and we've kind of been going off and on since then. So that's the way it's kind of been.
I see. And actually, you said Geffen Records too. Those were guys that actually handled Slayer's infamous Ring of Blood album, yeah.
I remember we showcased Atlantic Records came down. There was a dude named Jason Flom, who was their head of their A&R at the time, and he came down. He goes, "You guys are great. Love you guys. It's I'm looking at another band in LA that I think I'm gonna sign. It's between you guys and them." And it ended up being Rat. That's who ended up getting it. That's the guys that he signed. So it was that's the way they went. So either way, it's all good. It's all good.
Did you guys always do Axminster, or did you work multiple jobs in order to help pay and finance everything with Axminster?
Oh God, yeah. We had, for a time we didn't, because we were playing, and back in I know around this area, the club scene, we drew pretty well. So, you could get, $700, $800 a night for a 1 hour set, because you were drawing 800 people in some of these clubs, 900 people. So we did well. But that lasted for a couple of years, and then, like I said, life intervenes, and it's like I'm sick of living out of a shitty station wagon. So you go and you get a real gig, and everybody starts working, and So everybody works. Everybody had to work, and that's another thing. Life interrupts. Kids get married. You get married. You have a couple kids, and one thing leads to another. And yeah, you got to get a real job at some point.
Just for the audience sake, can you just list who the current lineup is and what your role in the band is?
Sure. I'm a lead singer, guitar player, do a lot of the writing. Benny Ferrantino is the lead guitarist. Benny and I have been joined at the hip for many years. Great guy, super guitar player, really talented kid. Danny Callan, who's on bass guitar. He took over for his brother Jeff around 1984. He was our roadie. And then our other bass player was like, I can't do this anymore, for whatever reason. And Danny was like, I'll play the bass. And he knew all the songs, so you got the gig, right? Jump right in, And then our drummer now is a cat named Shannon XK. He's a Venezuelan guy, real rocker, believe it or not, and plays a lot of fusion too. And he's the new drummer. He's the young cat in the band, and he's awesome. He's got impeccable timing.
Yeah, I was checking out some of the music last night here too, and a couple of your songs you sent over. And actually, special shout out to After the Morning, aka Jesse. He actually gave me some of your music. That's how I found out about you guys.
Yep.
I guess
good dude. I like After the Morning. They're a good band.
I was going to say, how'd you meet Jesse? Because I think he mentioned it in his interview.
Online. I mean, I think he posted something and I saw it and I liked it and he liked my stuff and then was like, I'm going to pass this along. And I'm like, no problem, dude. I'll pass your stuff along too. So that's the cool thing about music now is you can make so many connections. It's a completely different world, and coming from both sides, I guess there's good and bad, I mean, I look back on some of those other times and it was great, but now it's in a lot of ways a lot better because you can reach a global audience that you could never have access to before, just in the ability to record and how, I mean, you were going into 24-track, 48-track studios back in the early 80s, and that stuff was expensive. I remember, you do a lockout, which is basically, for anybody who doesn't know, is, that's like 11 p.m. till the next morning, and that was like $1,700 for a lockout. And $1,700 is like, for a big studio back then, I mean, you might as well take off somebody's right leg. That's a lot of money. But now, with Pro Tools and the ability to get on, to make your videos on YouTube and be able to put stuff out, it's like the access is a lot better now, a lot easier to get in front of people,
Yeah, that's for sure here too. That's another topic we'll get to in a little bit here too, but
sure.
Let's go into influences first here. I guess who influenced you to be a vocalist? And I guess did you try any other instruments?
The usual players back then. I mean, that were on the radio. The Deep Purples, Led Zeppelin, obviously Tyler and Aerosmith. They were local guys. They actually rehearsed right around the corner here when they were first starting out. So we used to ride our bikes up there when we were in junior high school and put our ear up to the warehouses where they recorded the album Rocks. And, they'd be outside washing their cars and stuff. And they were cool guys. Benny, the guitar player, the singer in his band at the time was Joe Perry's wife's sister. So, Benny would end up going over there and be jamming with Joe Perry and Brad Whitford, just sitting in his basement. So we got to see those guys go from, local playing high schools to, the superstar band that they became. So they were a big influence because of the fact that was a band that was from here that we actually got to see that made it, a rock band,
Oh man, that's always so awesome. I was gonna say, man, we could write a book about all this stuff right here.
Oh yeah.
That's for sure. And actually, I know we could kind of dance around it here too, but I guess how bad did COVID impact you and music-wise and family-wise?
Well, like everybody, you were shuttered. But I'll tell you the good part about it, if there is a good part, we couldn't work, so we did a lot of writing. I got to, as long as Benny was clean and I was clean, nobody was sick, so we got to hang out and get together, and it was, to be able to sit down and write from, Monday through Sunday for 4 or 5 hours a day was really cool. And that was a really cool experience because I hadn't had a chance to really do that since we were kids, where you just hang out in the basement or in the garage because you had nothing else to do. And we were doing it for a different reason. So in a way, COVID kind of drove us to keep going and do more stuff. So in that way, everything else about it sucked. because you couldn't go out, you couldn't play, really couldn't do much. But the fact that if you stayed in your small enclave, like we were able to do, some real writing and real playing, and that was the fun part.
Yeah, I can see why. I guess you and the bandmates okay? Did you guys ever get COVID at all?
Oh yeah, Benny he's had it several times. I didn't, knock on wood. Danny never did, our bass player, and he's a surgical nurse, so and he never got it either. So it was everywhere. I got the shots. I know there's political stuff on that one way or another, but if that was going to protect, give me the stuff. I like to be out with people, so that was the worst part. Is I hated being kind of cooped up.
Yeah, I'll tell you about
you. What was going on with you then?
Well, the funny story with that one is, let's see. I actually remember I actually called the day the world stood still, as I just call it. It was actually March 15, 2020. And after that, that was the first day I started working from home. And I had done that for like 2 3/4 of a year. Never really got COVID. I got sick maybe a couple times, and it might have been like what I call minor COVID, but
right.
It was here one day, then gone the next, to say the least. And actually, believe it or not, me and my family, we went down to Nashville, of all places. And this is when they started lifting the restrictions and everything.
Yeah.
And when you start bar hopping on Broadway, you can probably imagine what happens.
So. I get you. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad because so many people, got sick, and a lot of people died from it. It was a tough time. It's funny because it's like, it wasn't that long ago, but it seems like it was now, doesn't it? Doesn't it seem like it was forever ago? But we think back of that, of how many things were shutting down and nobody knew what was going to happen next. It was a funky time. It was a funky time.
It at one point actually felt like that zombie apocalypse sort of moment right there here too, or is about to.
Yeah, right. Because you're like, what's going to happen next? What's going on next?
I do have to also confess that I'm also a drummer as well here too. So I actually tried hopping on my drum set just to think like, I'll sweat it out. I'll see if I can try to play through some songs. And I just got one song in, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm too fatigued.
Is that right? Yeah.
It was that bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to make matters even worse, I actually had a little bit of a fever that night. So I actually got up and put my sweatpants on, and I pulled the covers up right to about here. And then I just kind of made friction and everything here too. That seemed to make it go away.
Yeah. So, well, it's good you came out. I mean, because so many people didn't come out on the other side very well. So that was, anybody that was compromised really took it hard. You know what I mean? My brother-in-law, he passed away from it, but he was sick. He had diabetes, and he had kidney problems, and he wasn't an old guy. He was in his mid-60s, but it just, anybody that was compromised really got beat up, and that sucked. That was too bad.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Blessings to you and your family as well here too, and it's also good to see you and the band that pulled through, came out better and stronger as well.
All good.
But I know earlier we actually talked about the scene, and I guess in and around Boston here too. So I guess, is it slowly starting to get better, or do you think it's been stagnant?
I just think it's a different world now. I mean, not just because of COVID or the pandemic. It's just different. I don't know. I don't want to sound like some old guy that's walked up to school the hill both ways, but the mystique's changed a little bit. Like, you used to go and you'd like want to see these bands, and that was a thing to go out. I don't know if people are more distracted now. I don't know if there's other options. I don't know what it is about live music. Again, I'll tell you, somebody was asking me, I do television stuff. I do television production. That's what I do to make money. That's how I know all the Bruins guys, and I've got some awards in the background there. But anyways, somebody asked me to go check out this show, and there was a fashion show that was going on, and they were talking about doing some reality TV. But that's another story for another day. But they said go to the club, and I hadn't been to a club in a while. It had been a while. And so I walked in there, and there was this band playing. Had no idea who they were, and they were fucking good. I mean, they were really good. And I'm looking down, and everybody's on their phones. I'm like, can't you give like 20 minutes to these guys and just like put that away? Who's on there that is so important that can't wait? This band, and they were just tearing it up, and I'm like, and that's the part. I just wonder. I think people are just more distracted. Maybe there's more options now. There's not as much, mystique when it comes. You remember like somebody put out a record and you'd go get the record, and you'd go through all the liner notes and you'd play the album cover to cover. And it was like, it was an event, right? And now it just seems like things are just so disposable. Like, what do you got for me next? So that, to answer your question, I didn't mean to get so long-winded. It's like, I don't know if it's ever going to be what it was. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's just not the same. I mean, Boston's built some great clubs, recently, but they're all 2,500, 3,000 seaters. I don't know how much is going on in the smaller venues. I know that it's out there, and we float around and play once in a while, but it's not like it was. It just doesn't, there's not the support that there was there.
You ain't lying, and actually, it's been the same way. Like, because I interviewed a couple of people out of Tampa and the New York region, they said it's kind of gone through something similar. Maybe not so much with the people fiddling on their phones, I like to say, but it's more so the music scene has not been the same. Maybe because of COVID here too. But I guess, how was Boston? I guess before COVID, was it kind of a little bit on the downward, or was it still pretty thriving?
Yeah, I think it's been on the downslide ever since terrestrial radio kind of went away in a lot of ways. I think it dispersed, right? I think it spread out now. It was a little more tighter. There was more of a scene, right? You had local magazines, and you had, like I said, there was radio stations, and there was a club scene, and you kind of rotated around certain clubs, and you got to know bands, and people that were following original music really followed the bands, And like I said, you were getting paid decent for gigs, and if you had a CD or a cassette, you could sell it in a T-shirt, so you could walk away with a few bucks, and it's not the same now. I don't know if, like I said, I wonder if it's because music doesn't have the same kind of attachment. Maybe there's more things to do now. And they're not as, people don't seem as married to bands. Maybe I'm wrong, as they used to be. Like, you'd want the whole record. Now it's like, well, I'll just take this one song and download it because I like it and put it in my library, and why do you need to buy it anymore, right? I mean, music has become, the actual recordings kind of become free in a lot of ways, right? It's like, and so that's changed everything too,
I think funny enough, because I know we talked about Metallica earlier, there was the whole thing with Lars Ulrich and Napster, and he also had Prince. They kind of foreshadowed, or I guess was able to see into the future. Yeah,
right. Remember, it was like, oh, what are you all pissed? Because I know that, when the cassette player, when you were able to actually make a recording on a cassette, sure, there were albums and you could take and record on a cassette. And I know people were passing things around that way, but it's not the same as people just completely downloading and ripping those guys off. You know what I mean? Artists should get paid for their music. I know Spotify's a whole nother thing. I know there's that's a whole nother animal. That people are really pissed off about that now with the amount of money that they pay artists. And I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Actually, funny enough, and I just thought about this. It was actually an episode in South Park that actually kind of tackled that whole thing, and they were kind of doing the whole parody and satire with some of the artists saying, like, they were not able to buy the most luxurious items, they were able to buy the least luxurious items.
Right.
So this guy ripping on them too, and then pretty much is like, we don't want to follow suit because we're all about the money. So,
right.
So, unfortunately, I think that's kind of fallen on its head because, as we said earlier, Lars and Prince, they were right.
They were right. They were right. And now it's like, but I was reading an article, or somebody was talking about it, and maybe in a weird way, music is supposed to be wasn't supposed to be big arena rock. Maybe it was supposed to be a little more small, more like a group than it is than it became. Maybe it wasn't ever supposed to be that big. Maybe it was supposed to be something. I don't know. I don't know. It's it certainly has changed. And seeing it from way back in and where it is now, like I said, some stuff is great about it now, and some stuff about it is just, it sucks because you don't have it doesn't seem like the passion is there. Yeah.
No, I would say I think money has some sort of factor into it, I should say. Maybe not fully, because I know a lot of people like to do this music for fun and as sort of a hobby, and then the money is just icing on the cake.
Right.
But I will also say, I actually interviewed Fanscapped out of Sweden.
Yeah.
And they were saying like how interactive their government was in helping to promote music, mainly like metal music and stuff like that too. You notice it in Scandinavia as well. So I think we need to do something out of their playbook, for instance, and be more interactive.
Yeah.
Now, whether that means bringing a state or a federal government in, maybe not. I think that's kind of pushing it, to be honest, but definitely something to get the music scene up and running again here too, because I think music really brings out the best in people, and I think it's more of a force of unity. So
I agree with you. I mean, this whole thing with AI, which I know is, is really infiltrated just so many things. It's like, well, now AI can, replicate a singer and write a song and take your lyrics. And I'm like, I want AI to like cut my lawn. Let me do the writing, It's like, no, I don't want them to write the songs. It's like, take care of some of the busy work, so we can do more art, so to speak,
Yeah. No, I think AI was honking at you right there. So, but actually, funny enough, there actually was one of my neighbors actually had this like little device that I guess is mowing his lawn. I'm not too sure because I don't know if there's like any blades on it, but it's really weird. It's almost like a Roomba. It just goes around his lawn, just like cutting it up. That's funny you bring that up. So you can easily get something like that. So yeah, you can find something. But I guess, do you use, speaking of the topic of AI, do you use AI for your artwork or anything?
No, it's usually I've got friends who are designers, and I'm old school like that. I will say though, there was a program. What is it called? It's like Automy, I think it's called. Anyway, you can give them the lyrics, right? You can give them your vocal line and pick a singer. And then the singer will like it's not an actual singer, but it's like a replica of a singer, which got certain tones and stuff, and it'll sing it with that AI voice. So of course I had to try this thing. So I grabbed the raw track of one of my songs, loaded it up, and it sent it back. And I was like, okay, I wish it had auto-tuned it a little more, but it's so I played it for my wife, and I go, "What do you like better?" She goes, "I like your voice better." I'm like, "Okay, that's good to know."
You can stay at the house a little bit longer since she gave you the praise and everything.
Right. Yeah, I think she probably had to say it anyway. So,
okay. But I guess we'll have to see what happens. But I've always joked that it's like becoming that Terminator sort of scenario here too, where the machines will take over at some point.
Well, the question that you hear a lot of people ask is, will the audience care? Right? Will the audience care that this song is AI generated or it's a real band? One thing I noticed about when I went on and it showed just all these different songs from different genres, whether it's metal or country or pop or whatever it was. The big difference was the lyrics sucked on some of the songs, right? Because these are people that aren't songwriters. So they're writing just lyrics and they're putting them into these programs, and the thing's spitting it back and it's on key, but it's like, it doesn't have a hook. It has no feel. You know what I mean? It's like, can a computer write "Start Me Up," and be Jagger? I don't know, man. It's like, I maybe it will, but I don't know. I think that's special. That's special.
I'll tell you, I hope to God not, because I think then it's starting to replicate the human voice in a way. Maybe not the human mind. I think that's impossible to do.
Right. But, I mean, it's like there's, it's there's some certain things. I guess you can put all the programs and a lot of key changes and everything in there, but I don't know. Can you think it'd spit out communication breakdown? I don't think so. I don't think so. That's got to come from a person.
Let alone Judas Priest screaming for vengeance. Like I say. Actually, I always like the line from Aqua Teen Hunger Force: "Prepare to scream for vengeance, ladies." So I can see why. But for AI and for everyone out there, please tread carefully on this, because I think there are some AI groups or people who've used AI a little bit more than they probably should in terms of music, and I think unfortunately they're getting maybe a fair amount of followers. So
yeah, I mean, even with auto tune and stuff, I know a lot of people using it. We don't. We haven't. I don't know. It's kind of that stuff it's like it's the hair. It's the stuff in between the cracks that makes it rock and roll, doesn't it? I'm not talking about being flat or hitting wrong notes. I'm just talking about it's that stuff. It's that human element. It's that we kind of bend a little bit the other way. It's like that's the stuff that makes it. That's the stuff that makes it cool. It's like, and I just hope that doesn't come out of it. I really don't, because that's what gives everything its uniqueness, its coolness. It's the stuff that raises the hair on your arms.
Yeah, I'll have to see what happens. But as I said earlier, tread carefully.
Yeah,
that's what I say. Okay. So actually, you talked about earlier you're in TV production. I guess what all do you do? Do you work at Bruins games?
Well, I when I went to school, went to college, that's what I studied was communications. And when I got out, and when the band kind of broke up in the late 80s, I started doing back to television production again. I wound up working for a company called Nesson, which is the New England Sports Network, which is here in Boston, covers the Bruins and the Red Sox, and was a senior producer there for like 14 years. And then started my own company in 2007, and we work with Boston College and Boston University, and we produce all kinds of television programmings for ESPN and for Nesson and for NHL Network, and that's kind of what I do to make a living.
I guess who covers the New England Patriots games? I know last couple of years they've been stuck in the joint, but I guess when Tom Brady was there,
right?
I guess who does the whole TV production with the Patriots?
Well, the NFL Network is the one that has the big contract. They don't really have a local affiliate, so like they're the ones that dole out these big television deals to like ABC or NBC or Fox National. So they have a huge television contract. So they really don't do as much local programming as, let's say, the Red Sox, who have a local affiliate broadcaster, or the Bruins. I mean, you're only talking 8 home games a year. So it's not like the Red Sox that have 80 games at Fenway Park, or the Bruins who have 40, 50 games at the TD Garden. So it's a much tighter television community there, handled by the big guys.
Yeah. Actually, do you do anything with the Boston Celtics?
No, we did in 2008 when they won this. They're handled by an NBC affiliate in this area, but no, we didn't do anything with them this year. I did watch them though. It's a cool run this year. I like the team.
Yeah. Actually, no, they didn't win it this year, did they?
Yeah, they did.
Did they? Okay.
Celtics won the championship. Oh yeah. All right.
It was all with Jason Tatum and all those guys.
Yeah, they were a very likable bunch of guys too. Really, really likable bunch of guys.
That's good. And congratulations there, too. I actually do have family that lives up in the Boston area. So.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So, obviously, every now and again, you have a little fun, too. Talk about this and that with the old New England Patriots. Obviously, more so Patriots fans, and then maybe Red Sox, and then I think Celtics are kind of low in the totem pole, to be honest. But still, nonetheless, big
How about Pittsburgh? You Penguins fan or Steelers fan? Got to be a Steelers fan, right? Pirates fan?
I mean, I would say I'm a diehard fan, but I like to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, for Pirates, there actually was an article that talked about the GM, for instance, and it was like, it was his news conference, and he was kind of making that whole thing like, okay, we're going to try maybe to search for some players for the trade deadline. And it was almost like he kind of reneged on that promise and kind of put our manager in a bit of a rock and a hard place, as they would say. So people are kind of upset at that here too, because even though we've kind of like made the playoffs every now and again, we've really kind of accidentally traded away some of our good players, and pretty much it's been inconsistent, to say the least. So
still, yes, Pittsburgh's. I mean, I was out there. Yeah, I've been out there for 20 years. We were out there when the NHL had their draft out there. I think it was 97, 98. Cool time. We had a good time. It was cool people. I really liked the town. It's a good town.
Just don't piss off them Yinzers, as we like to say. I guess speaking of which, does Boston have like their own little dialect? Maybe alternate some sort of words? Like
I think you can probably hear it in my voice. A little bit. Yeah. It's a very parochial town. It's interesting in a lot of ways. Like, if the Patriots are out of the playoffs, nobody's watching football. If the Red Sox lose, baseball's done for the year. So it's like, yeah, we like our champions, and if you're not a champion, we'll see you later.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think if it's the Yankees, you probably just want to watch them lose. Maybe that's what you want to do.
I appreciate the Yankees. I really do. The rivalry's not there like it used to be, because things have changed. But I mean, they won like 27 World Series. You got to you got to give props.
Like the days of Mickey Mantle and Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, all them boys.
Right. That's right. I even liked those 2004 teams when they had Jeter and those guys. They were a good team. They were formidable. That's for sure.
There's that old fight between Alex Rodriguez and Jason Varitek way back in the day.
Yeah.
And actually, that one fight, I do remember Pedro Martinez threw someone down on the ground.
Don Zimmer, the coach, he grabbed
Don Zimmer, okay.
He threw him on the ground.
Oh, boy. Those were intense days here, too. You don't really get so much of that anymore. In fact, if anything, the fights only last maybe like a few minutes.
Right.
Maybe just finger pointing, maybe some cussing here and there.
Yep.
I don't know. Hey, it's almost like people long for like the 80s again here, too. It's almost like, can we go back to 1985 or something like that?
Oh, I know. Those are great times, man. From even before then, I just remember seeing so many cool bands that they rolled through when I was growing up. I mean, I got to see. There's a club here called the Paradise, which is probably maybe 400 seats. In that club, I got to see Van Halen on their first tour through here. Thin Lizzy, AC/DC with Bon Scott. So, you get to see bands like that just, that's a real education, a real education.
That's one for the books. I think most people would say, yeah. It's like, so please, let's go back to 1980s.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I came in the 90s, so I'm a 90s kid.
I like the music in the 90s. There's a lot of cool bands there. It's like, that was one of the things, I remember when we started writing again, it's like, and I loved Soundgarden, and I loved, Stone Temple Pilots and Nirvana. Those bands are great, but it's like I started to try to write a little bit like that, and I just couldn't write that dark. It's like I'm just not. I mean, I love the riffs. I love Chris Cornell's voice. I thought it was great, but I just can't write that dark. I'm like, how do you come up with Black Hole Sun? How do you write that? You got to be in a dark place, man. Or them Bones. How do you write that by Alice in Chains? How do you write that song? It's just.
Was that which one?
Them Bones. You know what I mean? Off that. I think it's off the Dirt album or something like. Just like that's just. I mean, it was great stuff, but it was like it was coming from a different place, right? It wasn't coming from It wasn't coming from Bon Jovi area. It wasn't coming from that at all. It was coming someplace else.
I'd say the 70s taught you the sex, drugs, and rock and roll and making love, all that stuff.
There you go.
And all of a sudden, 1983 comes around. That's when Slayer's "Show No Mercy" comes out. Now we start getting dark.
Yep.
I've been something before too. I think there was like some Scandinavian bands. I actually want to say Celtic Frost maybe was like coming out and around then too. I'm not too sure. So, but
everything comes from Sabbath, really, right? Whatever riff you're talking about, it's like. Sabbath did it. You've taken it, maybe twisted it around or moved it the other way. But anything that's heavy, it's Black Sabbath. I mean, that's what it is. Those progressions are there, right? Low end, crunchy riffs, and somebody singing over the top of that. That's where it comes from. Black Sabbath.
That, or you didn't tend to do like a doom style. You think back to the actual Black Sabbath song. So, yeah.
You go put on Paranoid. Still a great record, front to back, right? Still, just a great record.
Absolutely. You know what? It was funny because there actually was a video on YouTube. They did Fairies Wear Boots, and it was live in Paris in 1970. So, I mean, they actually got it in color and everything, too. So,
what a great tune, right? That's just a great tune. It's like it's got everything in there that you want in a great rock song,
It's a lot better when it was live. I would say definitely better than the recording. It was better when it was live. It felt more heavier.
Yep.
Right. Actually, speaking of which, I think Ozzy, is he still trying to do a farewell concert? I think he said he wanted to do it in Birmingham.
How is he? Is he still, is he still able to perform? I don't know,
I think he'll do it one way or another. I think if they have to put him on puppet strings, they'll probably do it. So
I know Deep Purple just released something, right? Didn't they just release a new record, Deep Purple?
I have no idea. My dad didn't say anything. Is it with I should say mostly original, because I know they had a Falling Out with Richie.
I know that. I think the bass player Ian Gillian and Ian Pace. I know those three are in the band. Obviously, Lord's not around, and Richie Blackmore I don't think's in there. But those three guys, I believe, are in the band, and sounded pretty good.
Well, definitely not Richie. I know Richie was always tough to work with. I guess even with Dio too. Maybe it was a little bit of a dichotomous sort of relationship or something. I'm not too sure if that's the right word, but it was tough, to say the least. It was tough because I think for Deep Purple, when they got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they wanted to try to bring Richie on and just do like 3 songs, which one of them would have been "Smoke on the Water."
Right.
And one thing led to another, and it just
didn't happen.
Didn't really. I don't know if I think it might still happen, but maybe without Richie, I'm not too sure. But I don't know if they did like all the originals or anything like that here too. So, but they still got inducted nonetheless here too. So huge problem.
Talk about iconic albums, Machine Head. I mean, that's another one that's front to back still holds up today. That record,
Yeah, I always got a kick out of "Smoke on the Water." It was actually based on a true story.
Isn't that funny? I know.
Like I said, inspiration comes in odd places at times here too. So, all right. Well, we'll see what happens right here too. But I think right now we're in the dark ages. So let's figure out a way to get out of this. So
I know. Yeah.
Okay. But I guess here, moving on to the next question here too. I guess what sort of gear do you guys use when it comes to music production?
Well, the cool part is because since we're old cats, we got old stuff. I mean, got my 72 Les Paul Sunburst and old Strats, and we're Marshall, 1970s and 1980 Marshalls. So we've still got all our vintage gear, and it's great. You turn the stuff on, you crank it up, and it sounds great. So we're old gear guys, no question about that.
Do you guys still go to a studio every now and again, or do you just do it in your own homes?
No, we do bass and drums in a real studio. I've just had, you need so many great microphones to record drums properly, and to get, you need really good compressors and stuff to do bass properly. So we'll go in and, go in there with a click track and some scratch guitars and a scratch vocal, and lay down bass and drums in a real studio, and then bring those back and then do the rest of all the other work in Pro Tools, and then off she goes to somebody to mix it. The guy who mixed our last EP was a guy named Bob St. John. He did all Extreme stuff. Dawkins did a bunch of stuff for, he did Duran Duran. So, I'd love to put another set of really good ears on this stuff. I mean, we've mixed stuff before, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. It just takes me and us forever to do that stuff, because it's like, I'd rather turn it over to somebody that knows really what they're doing. I think you end up with a better product,
That's for sure. I guess, do you tend to jump around with people who mix and master, or do you tend to like to stay with one particular person?
We've been working with Bob St. John now on our last EP, and I can't see us using someone else right now. And then mastering, we've been a guy named Adam Matzer. I believe he's out of North Carolina. He did everything from Nuno Betancourt to Steven Tyler to Mary J. Blige, and great set of ears. He did all our mastering. He's another really good, cool cat, good guy. So I like the team. They're good guys,
So it's another beauty of the internet here too. You're able to find guys with good resumes.
It's really cool, and to be able to ship stuff off in a file and then it comes back and it's done. That's wonderful. The days of trying to stuff cassettes into manila envelopes and mail it off and hope it gets there. That's the great thing about being able to email stuff.
It was, they don't want it lost in transit, as they would say.
And never mind how much it used to cost. You know what I mean? Just to try to. I remember going to the post office after you release something with 2 big, garbage bags full of envelopes that had to get mailed out. Hopefully, it made its way to Metal Forces.
Yeah, that's for sure here too. I guess speaking of social media and that stuff here too, I guess what social media do you guys use in order to promote your music, and what streaming are you on?
Well, obviously Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, Deezer, and as far as social media, Facebook, YouTube's a big one. We do have an Instagram account. Don't really use TikTok. I mean, I just don't know if we skew that way. I tried a couple of times, and it's just, it always ends up being the same thing. It's usually, I look through there and there's some young girl, shaking her tits, and it's like, and that's where TikTok goes. I'm like, I just don't think that's where our audience is. We skew a little older. So those are the social media ones that seem to be working for us.
Or should I call it tit for tat or something like that instead? Yeah. That's a sad thing here too, because you'll just see a girl who's probably not playing the greatest, but she's like maybe wearing a bikini or something and playing the guitar.
Got a million hits.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah,
well, I'm saying that look at your guitar playing there, honey.
No.
That's for sure.
No.
Sadly.
Because somebody once told me, it's easy to go viral. Just jump off the building and record it, and it'll go viral. So it's like, I don't. It's easy to get too wrapped up in that too, right? I mean, if you start looking at all, you try to worry about how many clicks and how many this and how many that, you can kind of get away from why you're doing this in the first place, right? And the reason why I do this because I love music. I'm glad that people like what we do too, but I never played for that. I played because I want to play and I like making music, so you do need the social media stuff is good because you want it. I mean, if you want to test it, right? You want to see if people like what you're doing. But on the other hand, it's like you can get so wrapped up in that you forget why you're doing it. And there's a real balance there. You know what I mean? I'm not a marketing major. I'm a guitar player and singer. So, try to skate your lane, and hopefully by doing the right things, somebody likes it and says something about it or writes something good about it. I love it, and that's cool. And I'd like to get more of that, but I'm not going to try to get a bunch of bots or try to go to these companies that are out there and try to say I'll get you 1 million streams. How can you guarantee me that? How can you guarantee me that? You haven't heard my shit. It's bullshit. You know what I mean? you can't say that. Real. Yeah, you can say that sight unseen. You don't know if anybody's going to like this. So.
Oh. It does get really annoying, but fortunately, my phone's at least picked up on that spamming messages here too, so I just delete them now.
Yeah.
Easy way. But I guess, would you say that's maybe your advice to musicians on social media in your neck of the woods, or is there something else you want to add to it?
Just play. You know what I mean? Yeah. Make sure your recordings are good. They sound good. And put them out there, and do your search engine optimization. Make sure that things connect so that people can get a hold of you. But just play. And if it's good, somebody will find it. And, don't get so wrapped up in it, I think, that you forget that you're supposed to be writing your next songs, you know what I mean? And don't get too hung up on it. I think that you can really scratch your head and get caught up in it. I don't know how. I'll go on YouTube and I'll see a band. I go, how the hell do they have 400,000 views? You know what I mean? It's like, but, I'm sorry, just somebody obscure who you've never heard of, but I try not to get too wrapped up in that, and I would say just write good music and have fun. Because at the end of the day, that's really what you should be doing, is having a good time playing. That's why we kind of do this, Sorry,
I was just acting a little funny right now. Sorry. But yeah, I can see why. And I guess, have you collaborated with anybody in our music community? I guess, are you part of Band Together on Facebook?
Not too much, just some, once in a while, we just did this Aerosmith tune with a guy named Hirsch Gardner. He was the drummer in a band called New England. He played with Vinnie Vincent's Invasion. He played with some of the guys who were in Alcatraz, and he kind of drummed on our stuff on this last kind of cover tune that we did, but not too much. Most of the stuff we do is pretty tight. It's tough to get out and hook up with people, but I'd like to do more of it. I think that's a cool thing to be able to play with other players, and I'd like to do a little more of it.
Yeah. Actually, have you guys tried any covers outside of the Aerosmith one? I didn't mention that earlier, but I guess, was there anyone?
Yeah. We actually went, when we started back up again, because nobody remembered who the hell we were. We started playing covers and we started doing cover gigs, and we were doing all these deep B cuts, White Punks on Dope and Alice Cooper's $1 Billion Babies and, Pandora's Box from the Get Your Wings album. We were playing these clubs, and I remember there was these two young girls who came up to us after one of the sets and was like, "You guys are fantastic. I don't know any of the songs that you're playing, but you guys sound great." So, we were all there you go. So we were all into all these B-sides. So, so those are the covers that I like to play,
I'd say probably be careful. I think chicks are digging more of the bass and the drummers these days. So
Right.
actually, what the drummers are doing most of the legwork, keeping you guys in time. So
That's right. That's
shout out
right.
to the drummer, by the way. So actually, I was trying to picture you try to do Back in the Saddle from Aerosmith. Would you consider doing that at one point?
That's iconic. You got to be able to hit all that just great. You know what I mean? Tyler's awesome, but that's a tough one. I mean, that opening scream is just like, you got to be able to nail that or do a hell of a rendition to it. So that's a consideration. You know.
I think funny enough, I think Testament way back in the day they actually did a cover. It was Nobody's Fault.
That's a good tune. That I'd like to. I got to check that out. I got to check that out. See how they did. I bet you they did a great job on that. Last Dirty Honey, one of my favorite. I love Dirty Honey. They did Last Child. They did a great job with that.
Actually, a favorite that my dad and one of his best friends, theirs was always Mama Kin.
Yeah, a great tune. That's a great tune. What did Trent Reznor did? It was in a James Bond movie. They did a really good cover of the Immigrant Song. Did you hear that one? It's from a James Bond movie. They did. I forget what the name of the movie was, but he did a super job of the Immigrant Song.
No, I have to know which one. Was it one of the more recent ones, or was it like back?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm speaking a little out of school. I just remember hearing it, and I go, "That's really cool." And it was Trent Reznor, so I was like, "Yeah, he's cool."
I mean, I know about Johnny Cash taking the song "Hurts," and that was Trent Reznor's song.
Yeah, another good remake. That was really cool.
That's for sure. Yeah. Okay. But I guess speaking of which here too, and these two questions we can kind of intertwine here, but when you guys are creating a new song, I guess what's your process of creating it? Do you do the music first and then vocals last and lyrics?
All depends. Usually it's, there's a lick here and a riff here, and it all comes down to the hook, right? If you can take and find a good vocal hook that fits the riff, you can pretty much build from there. Can't tell you how many times you got a good lick, but can't find a vocal to fit, or you get a vocal and you're not sure how to present it. So the best stuff usually comes from woodshedding, I find. It's like I come down with an idea and you lay a groove on it, and next thing you know, she comes together. So I think that's the best way, is collaborating together. And I love jamming. I love getting together with the guys and just playing and going down with a clean slate of paper, and then you start to whittle away and go, okay, this is, you put up the whiteboard and you go, this is a keeper. This one needs work. This one, see you later, because we're brutal. It's like, that's the one good thing about Benny and I when we write. If it sucks, it's gone. And we have no bones about it. It's like, that's out, So if we're happy all the way through, it's usually going to be some kind of keeper. But yeah, it's got to have a hook. And I don't know how. I don't have a real process. I guess that's the way I'm getting at it. It's like, you might lay down a groove and then put a couple of riffs, and then I come back and I go, what a piece of shit, erase that. It's like, and you've been working on it like for a whole day, and you go, what the piece. The next day you wake up, you scratch your head and go, what was I thinking? Or sometimes you go down and jam and guys playing a lick, I catch a vocal right away, a hook on it. You go home and you write the whole thing out, and it's done. That happens too. So that's the beauty. That's the magic of collaborating. That's the part that's actually the best part, right? Isn't it, when you're playing with somebody, like you're down there and you jam and you came up with something, because that's its purest. That's when it's at its best. Because everything after that is kind of a pain in the ass. Now you got to finish it. You got to record it. You got to put the vocals on it. You got to mix it, and then it's not yours anymore, right? It's like becomes this thing. But that part right then, when you first write something that everybody's excited about, that's the best. That's better than anything.
Like eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Always
That's right.
Good.
That's the best part right there.
Yeah, I can see why. And actually, I forgot to mention this here too, but way back for the COVID ones, and there was actually funny stories in like Australia, for instance, here too. Whenever they would do concerts, it was almost like they had like designated squares to kind of do like the social distancing and everything.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing like too, because this is metal as well here too, and metal tends to get like little roughhouse and mosh pits and everything. I'm like trying to picture that too and be like, that would not fly in the States, to be honest with you, doing that whole social distancing. I mean, I'm just picturing Ted Nugent's concerts here too. If they were to enforce something like that here too, I mean,
Right,
oh god.
Right.
So, sorry to get off on a tangent here too,
That's
but
okay.
But I guess so. What do you normally like to talk about in your lyrics here too? Do you normally like to keep it like the traditional 70s and 80s sort of lyrical style?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't do as much fast cars and fast women as songs as I used to. Just cause there are other things that some of the other stuff that we're doing now, like "Don't Wind Me Up" about, which is one of the first singles, is just about being pissed off. You know what I mean? Just don't aggravate me. It's like those kind of things. So I think it all depends on kind of where you're at, where you're at mentally. It's like like I said, I'm not driving around in a Camaro and chasing stiletto heels as much as I used to. But I think would be remiss if we didn't say that some of the shit that's going on in the world today doesn't lead to you to kind of start to write about it and write it down. It's like it's amazing how crazy things have gotten sometimes.
Yeah, that's for sure here too. And that's right, Thick and Thin, and then Don't Wind Me Up. Those are the two I played on my McGrip show.
Yep, thank you for doing that too.
No worries. I guess what's Thick and Thin about? Is it kind of a sexual reference?
No, somebody got you back. You know what I mean? It's just there's people that got you back, soulmates that got you back, no matter whether things are up or down. Somebody who sticks by your side through thick and thin. Just sometimes when you're on top, and sometimes when we're down on the bottom. It's cool to have someone beside you, no matter what.
Yeah, that's for sure here too. And actually, I don't know if Jesse sent me any more here too, because actually I'm getting ready to do the August episode, and then I'm going to do September afterwards. But I am going to need some more music. I don't know if he sent me any more from your group, or whether he did, like, I think it was East Texas Adrenaline was one of them, and I forget what the other one was.
Well, I'll take a look and see what I sent you, and if I haven't sent you something, I'll make sure you get it.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much, Steve. And actually, go back earlier to your point with the whole thing with maybe a riff or lyric be like a piece of shit, for instance. I'm picturing you dressing up like Donald Trump. You'd be like, you're fired.
You're fired, right?
Yeah. I'd say that was probably a better show these days. I think he's now a little out there, to be honest.
These are crazy times, that's for sure.
Do tell. Oh, we're not going to get into that here, too. This is not a political chat, so we'll just leave it at that. Okay. Here, let's do this question here, then we got some fun questions afterwards. But in terms of challenges these days here, too, so I guess let's start at the beginning, like 1983. I guess what were your challenges then, and I guess what are your challenges now as musicians?
Back then, it was just trying to get noticed and trying to have an identity, right? I mean, you're a kid, and it's like you start copying things, right? Because until you find out who you are, you're not sure. So it's kind of you're more in a search mode, and there's a desperation, I think, when you're a young kid, that you think that there's an end game here, and as nowadays, it's like, I know who I am. I know what I do okay, and I know what I like to do, and that's what I'm going to do. And if you like it, awesome. And if you don't, sorry. And there is no end game, right? It's just the journey's the reward. Enjoy what you're doing, and enjoy the moments that come along. As I think it's really cool when somebody comments on YouTube and says, "This is really cool. I love this," or someone who you don't know, or somebody follows you on Facebook and comments on the fact that, I listened to your whole EP today and it was really good. That's good stuff. That's the good stuff. That's the reason why you kind of do it. You write a song and you go, yeah, we're still relevant. That's good. So I don't think the desperation of that early 80s stuff that we were at isn't there now. I mean, I wish that energy level was awesome, right? Because you could just go. I mean, I remember we'd drive down. I think we played a couple of times down in New York. We'd get out of work, hop in the van, drive down to New York, have an 11:30 set, finish. And we don't make money, right? So you're back in the truck. You drive all the way home and go to work. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could do that now,
Yeah, it's a little strain on the body these days.
That's right. Yeah.
So, actually, speaking of which,
you were doing never mind what you were doing in the truck all the way home, so you could get up and go to work the next day too.
Yeah. Actually, my dad says, and sorry to interrupt it right there, but it was have you guys toured, did any sort of touring, or did you just mainly go to like neighboring states just to do any sort of shows?
Neighboring states. We didn't really. It was we didn't hop out on the road. We had some opportunities we were going to do it, but it just never came to fruition. So we stayed pretty much. I think we went down as far as like Maryland, Baltimore area, and all the way up to Maine, and New York, down in New York. We stayed mostly in the Northeast. We never got down. Got down to Florida or got out to the Midwest, and because a lot of that stuff, I mean, some of the connectivity wasn't quite there. I think you can do that nowadays because there's ways to get in touch with people, and I love that bands set up these mini tours now. It just didn't seem as feasible back then unless you had somebody kind of backing that.
Yeah, you need the old-fashioned agent these days, dressed in a suit and tie, Agent right. Smith from The Matrix. So, let's see why. And actually, did you take 2 weeks in order to do Baltimore? Because I'm thinking like if you had to drive all the way back home from Baltimore,
yeah, we went down. We took like several days and went down and then played another place on the way back, someplace in like Connecticut or Delaware, and then made to New York, and then we do these in short spurts over a week.
East Coast Invasion, Axminster,
right. There you go.
Headliner. So, actually, did you guys play with anybody else? I guess at the time, because I'm assuming this is way back in the day.
Other than some of those bands that I mentioned to you, some of those bigger bands in this market, or if we went down to I remember playing in New York, we would play with other bands who we didn't even know of. Somebody might have said, call this guy and he'll get you in and you play this set, and some of it was kind of obscure, it's and some of it's a blur too, to be honest with you. Just it was a lot of nights playing that. Sometimes they'd pack in 6-7 bands, at the time,
Be there all night long.
That's right.
Yeah. Let's see why. And I guess just for this year in particular, and I guess because we're already past the halfway point for 2024, what's your plans for this year and going into 2025?
We're writing. We're going to do another EP. I think that kind of works a little better now because it's all about singles now for some reason. It's, taking songs and then just releasing them one at a time. I think that you're able to, the splash of doing a full album is changed. I think you have to kind of spread it out a little bit now, right? Because you just don't want it to die on the vine. You can elongate the length of the new work that you're putting out. So we're recording now. We're not recording. We're writing now. We'll probably go in the studio, I'd say in the fall, mix, master, record, and release it by the end of the year, and then start the cycle again, and hopefully do some gigs and make videos and continue to have fun.
Have you guys done any music videos yet?
Yeah. Have I sent you any? We did every single song that we do has a video to it. Usually, we we do a lyric video and then do a performance video of some kind, So each one that we've done off this EP, we've done one for Don't Wind Me Up, Backfire, Thick and Thin, all had videos. We did a video to SOS, the Aerosmith tune, and I think the next one we're going to do is off a song called White Lie Fever, which is on the EP as well. So we'll be doing a video to that.
I'll have to check. I thought it was mainly Jesse's emails.
They're all on YouTube. Yep, they're all on YouTube.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I think he actually did send me the videos too. So I'll have to check.
I think so.
All right. A special shout out to Jesse for helping bring this band together, and as well as also share the music as well. So
thank you, Jesse.
No worries. All right. So, Steve, we briefed the questions here pretty good. So here, let's jump into some fun ones. Ready?
All right.
Let's start here with the first one. I guess, what would you say is your favorite food currently?
I'm into Mexican food lately. I've been digging Mexican food. Nice, especially summertime, nice margarita, some Don Julio tequila, a little Cointreau, salt on the rim, good taco, nice fajita, good burrito. Oh, yeah, Mexican food's it.
Well, no quesadillas?
Quesadillas are cool too. I love quesadillas. Like I said, all Mexican food. I'm into Mexican food. And Cuban food too. There's a cool Cuban restaurant around here that I've just been turned on to that basically has the same kind of feel to it. So, yeah.
Then by wintertime, he turns into an Italian. Actually, yeah. I would say mine mostly could be Italian, but that's also because it's all American eyes, as I like to call it.
Well, I am Italian, so I grew up eating Italian food. So it's like we had it all the time. So now it's like, I've had so much of it that Mexican food is where it's at for me.
Now everyone's like, hey, what are you doing?
That's right.
What you doing? All right. But nonetheless, huge respect to Italians, even though I would say they're taking over the world with their food. in any case. Okay. Good choice there. Actually, funny enough, I had a quesadilla last night for dinner. It was a nice little chicken, peppers, and onions. So
Go.
can't go wrong with that.
Nope.
Just dip it in sour cream, though. I don't know. How hot do you normally go of yours? You like to spice it up?
It all depends. It's if as long as I get something to wash it down with, I can go pretty hot.
And then just don't put your mouth over the sprinkler system.
That's right.
Yeah. For the next question here, I guess, what would you say is currently your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. Wow, that's a good one. I like Goodfellas. I think it's because it looks like most of my relatives are in that movie. So
I'd say, hey, Spidey, why don't you give me a cutting water over there, will you? We'll say, as much as I have always got used to the movie, I'm always still a little freaked out when Pesci pulls out the gun and kills Spidey.
Yeah, so. It's one of those ones where if it's on, I have to watch it the rest of the way. I have to watch it all the way through. Like Jaws, right? You got to watch the rest of Jaws, right, when it comes on.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I've ever seen Jaws, to be honest. Now that I think about it.
You got to see it. It's kind of campy, but you got to watch it all the way through. It's like you got to see the end.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
That's right.
Yeah. Actually, did you get into some of the other Scorsese's works, like Casino and then the recent one, Killers of the Flower Moon?
Of course. I Casino, what's the new one that you mentioned? What did you just mention?
It's his recent one. Actually, it won an Academy Award, I think, but it's Killers of the Flower Moon.
I haven't seen that yet. I've got to see that one. I've got to see that. And I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan, too, of course. Who isn't, right?
I mean, he knows how to make the movies, but...
Pulp Fiction and all those movies. Great movies.
You say Reservoir Dogs or...
Yeah, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction.
Inglourious Bastards.
Inglourious Bastards, what a great movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, another great flick.
Hateful Eight.
Yeah, great movie. And I saw that in a movie theater, which was great because the sound, that opening scene, when the stagecoach is kind of coming across it's phenomenal when it's in widescreen. It's great sound, and that cabin you can feel how cold it is inside that cabin. So yeah, Quentin Tarantino, big fan.
That's a good making movies, maybe not so much a good human being, so just a person here too. So made his head real big. The ego went to his head, as I like to say.
Yeah.
Next one. Do you drink any alcohol? First off,
of course. Yeah.
I always like that.
Tequila and vodka.
I always like that first. And sorry, I wasn't sure if you were also moderate too, because I've interviewed people who had abused alcohol in the past. So I always like that just to be safe. But I think you did answer the question. But favorite alcoholic drink and non-alcoholic drink?
Non-alcoholic drink's got to be water, and alcoholic drink, a good margarita is in the summertime is pretty cool. It
goes a long way. So
yeah.
All right. And the last of fun questions: what is currently your favorite song, or a song you've been listening to a good bit recently?
My favorite song. You had mentioned this earlier, and that's why I was reluctant to say about doing Back in the Saddle. But every time that song comes on the radio, usually right after that, if it is, I shut off the radio because it's really tough to follow that song with another song. So I need a break after that. So, I'd say Back in the Saddle, when I first got the album Rocks, and I remember putting that record on and putting that first song on side A, and that song came on. That was the one that was like, that one I can listen to that song over and over again. That's got everything that a great rock song should have. What am I listening to now? There's three bands that I'm really listening to a lot of. I love the Rival Sons. I think they're pretty cool. I like the Struts. I know that they're a little poppy, but they've got some great grooves, and I love that Luke Spiller's voice. I think he's awesome. And I'm into Dirty Honey, too. I think they're a pretty cool band. I love that whole retro sound they have, and that guitar sound is very indicative of that cool old 70s Marshall, Les Paul kind of rock and roll sound.
I guess got to jump on this here, too. In the indie music community, have you listened to anybody new, like Ring of Fire, for instance, or anyone else?
those are kind of the newer bands that I've been kind of listening to. I know they're not really newer; they've been around a little while. I'm trying to think of who else I've been. It's funny because once in a while, like if you go on YouTube and YouTube will, and I'll scour around and it'll suggest a new band. Once in a while, a cool band will pop up. You're like, wow, who are these guys? It's like, and I think that's really great. I still do a lot of that, just kind of hunting around and clicking on stuff.
I would say just on Facebook alone, but I've also noticed it on Instagram as well. I'm just amazed like how many bands just in maybe the States alone, not alone and around the world, but how many bands there are in general too that I'm still following.
Amazing, isn't it? How many there are? It's amazing, and a lot of good ones too. Just good bands. It's like I'm just amazed by how many just good bands there are.
Actually, the reason I brought up Ring of Fire earlier was because he actually released a new song, and he's also did a collab with Storm Kingdom, and his name's Joe Bowie. And actually, I recommend you guys get together for a collab one of these days.
Okay.
But this song on Ring of Fire was called The Vikings, and then I think they're on with Storm Kingdom was the Dark Tower, that Stephen King novel.
All right. So what's the name of let me write this down. What is it? The Bring in the Fire? Is that what it's called?
Ring of Fire.
Okay. Ring of Fire.
Like Reign of Terror, for instance, or something like that.
I'll check it out. I will check it out.
And then Storm Kingdom is the other one. You should be able to find his collab on there.
Okay. Storm Kingdom. All right.
All right, so Steve, we produced the questions here pretty good. We're actually just shy of about an hour and 20 minutes outside of maybe editing it here and there. We do have one more question, but I guess before we jump into it, did you have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into it?
I just really appreciate, I appreciate guys like yourself that are out there just helping bands like us, supporting music. It's important, and it's important that you're doing that. It really is, because it's like without this community, it's like bands just don't have a place to play. They don't have a place to get their voice out, and it's really cool. And thank you for taking the time, to talk about our journey and what we're doing, and I really appreciate that.
No worries. Until then, he missed out on a good interview this time.
Yeah,
so.
Believe me, he wanted to be here. He had to get into work.
That's no issue too. But God bless you guys first off. And for the last questions right here, this is how it goes. So given what COVID has done, I know you guys, as a band, it seems like you guys have been pretty blessed. I know you had some losses here and there here too. And I'm sorry to hear about that. But for those musicians and people out there who have been impacted by COVID or anything else in our lives, what sort of message of hope could you give to musicians and people out there as we try and move forward in the post-COVID world? Really enjoy the moment, right? Don't try to look for the next thing without enjoying the thing that you're doing. That's so important, right? It's like go and play. Just go and play and go with your friends and jam with your band and write good songs and shitty songs and just play, right? Just go for it and just enjoy it, because it's like those moments, you don't get that stuff back. You just don't, instead of trying to anticipate what the next move is. And I know you have to have some, if you're a band, you want to, what's the steps, but enjoy that moment. You know what I mean? If you guys write a good song, share it. Enjoy the fact that you're able to collaborate, because we're all not here very long, man. If you look at it, and I don't mean to be melancholy here, but really it's like, I look back on just the fun and the journey that we've had, and I'm still so lucky to be able to play, and still so lucky that I have good friends that we can laugh and sit down and have a beer and turn our amps on and just dig it and have fun. And, if somebody else enjoys it, that's great. It really is great. Whether you've got 10 fans or 14,000 followers, whatever, you know what I mean? Just enjoy it and be appreciative of the fact that you can still do this. Spoke like a true prodigy, to quote Quentin Tarantino. So,
thank you.
No. Right. So, Steve, we reached the end of my podcast right here, and we talked for a good bit. But I guess, did you have any final words? Any shout-outs you want to give before we close?
No, just keep rocking. Just have a good time. Rock and keep playing, and don't stop, because there's no reason to stop. No reason.
Is everybody really into the Journey song right there? Don't stop believing.
Yeah.
So, Oh, really? They did that. All right. And just for the audience, can you just list the social media and streaming platforms you're on, just so they can check you guys out?
Sure. Axminsterband.com is our website, and that will lead you to all platforms for everything. You can also find us on YouTube. Same thing, Axminster Band videos. We're also on Facebook, Axminster Band Facebook. So the big thing is if you want to find out more, go to the website. Everything's right there where you can get music, download music, lead you to our Spotify pages, take you to all our videos, find out about who the heck we are if you're interested, and drop us a line. We're always looking to talk to new people and meet new people and collaborate with new people and find out what other people are doing, and love to share music and talk music and be all about music. It's the thing that keeps us moving.
Absolutely. There's on this guy right here too. So everyone, my guest today was Steve Sera, hailing from, actually I was going to say your cousin, from Boston. Right. But he's hailing from Boston, Massachusetts right here. He's probably I'm going to say classic rock group, because you guys kind of got that. Or should we still call it classic rock, or should we not? So,
sure.
Right. Classic rock group, Axminster. So go hit them up on the socials. Go check them out on all streaming platforms. Go help our brothers out right here. These guys got some damn good stories here too, so don't be afraid to reach out. So, Steve, I want to wish you all the best going forward there, mate. So stay safe and God bless you. Rock on.
Same to you, Brian.
Thank you, y'all.
All right, man. Appreciate it.